Have you ever received a mysterious gift that felt like it carried an untold story? In a quiet corner of the bustling city of Lakewood, a humble waitress named Lily Anderson found herself at the center of a whirlwind when she kept receiving extravagant presents on her birthday from a secret benefactor. Each year, the gifts grew more lavish and puzzling, casting an intriguing spell over her life. Driven by curiosity, Lily embarked on a quest to uncover the truth behind these anonymous tokens. Little did she know the discovery would unravel a lifetime of hidden regrets, buried family secrets, and staggering betrayal. Lily Anderson's mornings began with the clank of metal against porcelain. The Sunrise Diner, located on the outskirts of Lakewood, wasn't much of a spectacle from outside, peeling turquoise paint, a wobbly neon sign, but it held a certain warmth for the regulars. Its cramped interior glowed with the cheer of routine. The scent of freshly brewed coffee fought valiantly against the lingering odor of fried bacon. Each day, Lily would start her shift by tying on a faded apron and forcing a gentle smile, preparing herself for the unpredictable hum of the breakfast rush. Lily, at 22, wore her life in the tired circles under her brown eyes. She had the kind of face that lit up easily, though that brightness had been dampened in recent years by a burden she never fully spoke about. Her father was a ghost in her life, someone who vanished under mysterious circumstances when she was a child. Her mother, Grace Anderson, was once a kind-hearted woman brimming with laughter. But over time, scrubbing toilets to earn a living, working late hours and raising Lily alone, Grace had grown guarded. This shift made Lily all the more determined to forge her own life, even if it meant exhausting days behind the counter. The diner was a second home to Lily. It was a place where stragglers and lonely souls came for cheap coffee and a warm hello. People like Harold Monroe, an old retired teacher who read newspapers in the booth next to the door every morning, or pregnant single mum Pauline, who always ordered extra pickles on her burgers. Lily was used to the demands, the complaints, and the minimal tips, and yet every day she woke up, pinned back her hair, and arrived with hope clutched tightly in her heart. But what none of the regulars knew was that Lily had a secret that haunted her. Every year on her birthday, October 3rd, she received an anonymous gift at the diner. It started on her 12th birthday, a small parcel with a gold locket. At 13, it was a pair of handmade shoes from an upscale boutique. Then 14 brought a pressed flower journal, and 15 included a rare first edition of a Jane Austen novel each passing year. The gifts grew more expensive, and each time a note accompanied them for the one who deserves the world. No signature, no explanation, just a brand new mystery every year. Lily tried to hide the gifts from her co-workers and friends, but curiosity lingered. When she was younger, she assumed the packages came from a generous relative, yet she had no aunts or uncles left. Her mother was estranged from most of the family, and her grandparents on both sides had passed away. Grace never offered an explanation either, and her face would grow tight if Lily tried to bring it up. By the time Lily turned 16, the strange deliveries felt more confusing than flattering, casting a shadow over her birthdays that she could not escape. Financial hardship was another constant in Lily's life. The Sunrise Diner's wages were meager tips, unreliable. Despite her ambition to attend college, the mounting bills and her mother's health complications kept Lily anchored at the diner to earn every penny she could. She told herself she'd apply to a nearby community college as soon as she saved enough, but that magical threshold enough seemed perpetually out of reach. One day, Lily stood outside the diner, taking a brief break from a relentless lunch shift. She looked at the small gold locket around her neck, the first anonymous gift she'd ever received. It had become her talisman, a token that reminded her someone out there cared enough to remember her birthday. Sometimes she let her mind wander, imagining a secret guardian angel who saw her struggles and wanted to brighten her day. But if that were true, why remain anonymous? Why only once a year? The questions tumbled in her mind without finding answers. Lily told herself it might be a close family friend, or perhaps someone who had known her father. Yet the trail of her father's life was cold. She had only one photograph of him and her mother taken on their wedding day outside a small chapel. Martin Rutherford, dressed in a sharp grey suit, smiling broad as he lifted Grace playfully off the ground. That image lingered in Lily's memory, a constant reminder of a man she barely knew. Lily's 18th birthday arrived in a cascade of heavy grey rain. The diner was practically empty that morning. Pauline had just finished her breakfast and waved goodbye, waddling out into the downpour with a grateful grin. Harold Munro was absent for the first time in months, leaving the corner booth lonely. Lily was wiping tables, humming softly to herself, when she saw the delivery man step inside, soaked raincoat, sullen face. As soon as his eyes swept the diner, he seemed to pick her out. "I've got a package for Lily Anderson," he announced, holding a rectangular box wrapped in silver paper. Her heart gave the usual jolt. The other employees watched curiously, but Lily tried to remain composed. She signed for the package with trembling fingers, carrying it to the back room where the coat rack and supply shelves stood. She locked the door behind her. Sliding her fingernail under the tape, Lily tore away the wrapping to reveal a small wooden box. Inside was a gorgeous fountain pen, studded with tiny sapphires along the clip, and a note in the same spare, elegant handwriting. "For the one who deserves the world, happy birthday." She felt her face flush. It was beautiful, but also an impossible gift. She pictured herself scribbling diner receipts with a pen that must have cost more than her rent. Why give her something so extravagant? She reread the note, heart pounding, with the same mixture of flattery and dread that haunted her every October. If only she had a clue. Any clue about who was behind this yearly gesture. Lily's mother, Grace, noticed the pen that evening. The moment her eyes fell on the sapphires, a flicker of pain crossed her features. She didn't say a word, but Lily sensed her mother recognized the handwriting on the note. Lily wanted to pry, but Grace's silence was a wall too high to climb, so Lily let it be, returning to her routine of double shifts and dream chasing in the quiet hours after midnight. A day came when Lily decided enough was enough. She had turned 19, and her newest gift, a designer leather jacket that fit like it had been tailored for her, hung in her closet unused. She confronted her mother in their modest living room. "Mum, I need to know who's sending these gifts," Lily said, voice trembling. "I can't keep accepting them without even a name. You must know something." Grace's eyes lowered to the floor. She pressed her thin lips together, as though waging an internal war. Finally she sighed. "Honey, all I can say is that someone out there cares about you. Maybe that's all that matters. That's not enough," Lily insisted, stepping closer to Grace. "Tell me who it is." "I can't," Grace whispered, tears forming. "It's better if you don't know. Please trust me." That conversation lodged in Lily's memory. Her mother's anguished expression spoke volumes about deep scars, secrets locked away. Grace never mentioned Lily's father. When Lily was a child, she used to ask about him all the time. But as the years passed, she realized those inquiries led only to silence. On rare occasions, Grace would murmur something about the mistakes Martin Rutherford had made, how he'd left them penniless. how he'd chosen wealth and ambition over family, but the specifics were never revealed. Little did Lily know that Grace carried mountains of guilt from that complicated relationship. In her younger years, Grace had been swept off her feet by Martin's charm. He was older, worldly, and had big dreams of starting a real estate empire. He built up a small fortune through questionable deals, a labyrinth of legal loopholes. Grace, naive and trusting, never suspected Martin's moral flexibility. When Lily was just a toddler, Martin got embroiled in a scandal that threatened to tarnish him. People rumored that Martin was funneling funds to secret accounts, manipulating property values. Terrified of losing everything, Martin took an offer from an influential business partner who insisted he leave his family behind for a clean break. Overnight, Martin Rutherford vanished. Grace was left with no money, no house, and a child far from Lakewood, in a sparkling penthouse overlooking downtown Chicago. Martin Rutherford stood by a floor-to-ceiling window. He was older now, his hair graying at the temples. He sipped from a crystal tumbler of whiskey, each drop burning his throat. In the reflection, he saw a man haunted by regret. His empire had grown. He owned multiple luxury properties, hotels, and had stakes in various startups. To the world, Martin Rutherford was a self-made millionaire, philanthropic and occasionally philanthropic enough to garner media praise. But behind closed doors, nightmares plagued him. He saw his daughter's face, the little girl he'd left behind. He thought of Grace, her tearful pleas for him to stay. For years, Martin told himself, leaving was necessary, that it was the only way to protect them from the potential legal storms brewing. He rationalized that once he cleared his name, he could come back triumphantly. Yet time slipped through his grasp, and reuniting became more and more complicated. The longer he waited, the heavier the guilt. The only solace he offered himself was the annual gift shipped in secrecy to Lily Anderson. Once he confirmed her birthday, October 3rd, he made it a ritual to send a precious item each year, never signing his name. He convinced himself that these gifts somehow compensated for his absence, a token of fatherly love. But each gesture also served as a painful reminder of the chasm he had forged between them. On Lily's 19th birthday, Martin found himself pacing his office at midnight, staring at an unsent letter. My dearest Lily, I'm sorry he could never finish it. That year he decided to send the designer leather jacket he had discovered on a trip to Paris. The note, as always, was short, but in Martin's eyes, it was a father's silent plea for forgiveness. As Lily entered her 20s, the gifts took on a strange, almost foreboding quality. The year she turned 20, she received a check for $10,000 inside a plain envelope, a gift far surpassing anything she could comprehend. She froze, staring at the check with disbelief, her heart twisted with anxiety, as though this money represented a moral dilemma. It could solve so many problems, rent her mother's medical bills, maybe even part of her college tuition. Yet something felt wrong. She hated the feeling of being bought off by a stranger. Crumpling onto her sofa, she weighed her options. Should she deposit it, return it? But how could she return something with no return address? Confusion gnawed at her. The thought that it might be her father never left her mind. She remembered the bitterness in her mother's eyes whenever Lily brought up the possibility. Grace never explicitly said Martin's name in connection with the gifts, but her silence only fanned the flames of Lily's suspicions. At the diner, Lily confided in her co-worker Janice, who listened wide-eyed as Lily described the check. That's insane, Lily, Janice said. Who on earth would just send you that kind of money? Lily exhaled heavily. I don't know, but something in me says it's my father. It has to be. No one else would care this much, or know my favorite brands, or guess my size, or just send me this kind of cash. Janice gave her a sympathetic pat on the shoulder. If it's him, maybe this is his way of asking for forgiveness. But I don't even know if I want forgiveness to be an option. Lily whispered. He deserted me. He deserted Mum. If he wants to help, why hide? The question hung in the air unanswered. On her 21st birthday, Lily's mother woke up in severe pain. Grace had always brushed off her health issues, but the pain in her abdomen became unbearable. Lily rushed her to the emergency room in a panic. The tension of the moment made Lily forget it was even her birthday. She hovered at Grace's bedside, her mind buzzing with worst-case scenarios as the doctors ran tests. When a nurse informed Lily her mother was stable but needed surgery to remove gallstones, Lily finally let out a breath. That night, Lily returned from the hospital to find a rectangular box waiting at her apartment door. She almost kicked it aside, furious that whoever kept sending these gifts had perfect timing to deliver them on her worst day. Opening it listlessly, she found an elegant diamond-studded watch and a note. For the one who deserves the world, may time bring us closer. A wave of anger seized her. She threw the watch onto the couch. How dare this person remain in the shadows while her life spiraled with real troubles? Could a watch or money comfort her mother as she lay in a hospital bed? Rage churned inside her like a storm, fueling an urge to solve this mystery once and for all. In the following weeks, Lily used part of last year's $10,000 check to pay the hospital bills, torn between guilt and relief. She told herself it was the only practical choice. Her mother's health came first, even if the source of the money made her uneasy. Meanwhile, Grace recovered, slowly returning home. Pale and weak, Lily dedicated herself to working even longer hours, sometimes collapsing from exhaustion once she got home. 7 months later, Lily was working a late shift when she spotted an unfamiliar figure perched at the counter. He wore a dark coat and had an air of polished wealth about him. It was unusual to see someone so upscale in the modest diner at nearly midnight. The stranger had steel-grey hair neatly combed. His face was lined, handsome but weary. Lily offered him the menu, and he ordered a simple black coffee. As she poured his coffee, the man's eyes lingered on her face. There was a strange softness in them, like he was fighting an internal battle. Lily's skin prickled with suspicion. She noticed a monogrammed pen in his pocket, the letters M.R. glinting under the fluorescent light. Her heart faltered. She couldn't stop herself. "I'm Lily. Let me know if you need anything else." He nodded, forcing a polite smile. "Thank you, Lily. I'm Martin Rutherford." The last word caught in his throat, spoken so quietly that Lily almost missed it. But as soon as she heard it, her heart hammered in her chest. She nearly dropped the coffee pot. For a moment, she forgot to breathe. The diner's familiar clamour dissolved into silence. Martin Rutherford, her father's name. This had to be him. Adrenaline surged, followed by confusion, rage, a glimmer of relief, then more rage. She set the pot down and stared. He gazed back at her watery eyes, brimming with emotion. Everything about his demeanour screamed contrition. "Is this some sick joke?" Lily whispered, not wanting to cause a scene in front of the few late-night patrons. She spoke through clenched teeth. "Because if you're really him, then you have no right." Martin raised a trembling hand. "Lily, I'm sorry. I had to see you. I've wanted to for so long." She felt tears threaten to escape. The flood of questions paralyzed her. She fled to the back room. Janice, who was wiping down the counter, threw Lily a concerned glance, but said nothing. Lily's mind spun in circles. This was the man who had disappeared from her life. The man who might have been sending all those gifts. The father she never knew. After a few minutes, Lily re-emerged. Martin was still there, coffee untouched. She walked over, fighting the quake in her hands. "Why are you here now?" His voice cracked. "Because I realized you deserve more than anonymous gifts. You deserve the truth." Lily felt an explosion of fury. She demanded Martin accompany her outside, away from the few prying eyes in the diner. The neon sign buzzed overhead as they stood beneath a flickering street lamp in the crisp night air. Lily folded her arms, her stance rigid. "I knew it was you," she spat. "Why couldn't you just talk to me like a normal human being? Why the secret packages?" He swallowed hard. "I was afraid. Afraid you'd hate me. Afraid I wasn't worthy of your forgiveness." "Then why leave all those years ago? Why vanish?" Martin sighed. "It's complicated, Lily. I got involved with the wrong business partners. They demanded I step away from my personal life to avoid implicating you and your mother in a fraud investigation. I told myself I'd come back once I cleared my name. But then the months turned into years, and the guilt, it paralyzed me. Do you realize how horrible it's been for us, Lily?" Hissed eyes brimming with tears. "Mom worked herself sick. I was scraping by for everything. School supplies, groceries. And you just waltzed around buying presents and building your real estate empire, right?" He didn't deny it. "I tried to support you in small ways, sending money when I could. Money is the least important thing you stole from us," Lily declared, voice cracking. "I grew up without a father. Mum lost her best friend." A tear slid down Martin's cheek. "I know I can never undo the past, but I want to make amends. Let me help you and your mother." The sincerity in his voice might have moved Lily months ago, but now, with her mother's health failing and so many years wasted, she felt more skeptical than ever. She glanced at him in the flickering light and saw an older man haunted by his mistakes, no longer the dashing father from her tattered photo. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you," she whispered. "But I want answers, everything. No more secrets." Martin nodded. "I'll tell you whatever you want to know." In the days following their tense reunion, Martin Rutherford's carefully constructed world began to wobble. He had tried to keep his business dealings afloat with high-risk investments. The markets turned volatile, and one of his largest ventures, a luxury condo project, flopped due to environmental regulation issues. Rumors swirled about the possibility of Martin's involvement in financial misappropriations. At first, Lily didn't know any of this. She only knew that her father, this man who claimed to care about her, suddenly struggled to maintain the lavish lifestyle he'd flaunted for years. Martin's phone buzzed incessantly with calls from irate business partners. He tried to hide the stress during the rare coffee meetings he arranged with Lily. She would meet him in neutral locations, cafes or benches near the hospital, where her mother had checkups. Each time, Martin tried to offer financial support, which Lily refused, or only accepted in small amounts for her mother's care. Their conversations were awkward. Lily demanded details about Martin's disappearance, and he attempted to explain how a wealthy investor named Charles Chip Manchester manipulated him into forging documents to protect their company from tax fraud allegations. Martin fled partly out of fear for his own safety, partly because Chip threatened to ruin Grace if Martin stayed near her. Over time, Martin partnered with shady individuals and found success by stepping on others. Now that foundation crumbled beneath him. Meanwhile, Lily's mother refused to see Martin at all. "I have no words for him," she told Lily from her hospital bed. "He abandoned us. Once I'm not letting him hurt me again." Lily felt torn. She didn't want Martin to further stress her mother, but she also ached for closure. The scenario weighed heavily on her, a puzzle with no easy solution. As the weeks passed, the once untouchable Martin. Rutherford found himself the target of an investigation by the state attorney's office. Whispers in the press mentioned hidden accounts, allegations of fraudulent real estate deals, and ties to unscrupulous shell corporations. The Chicago Tribune ran a headline, "Millionaire mogul Martin Rutherford, under scrutiny." Lily saw the story while scanning the diner's worn-out newspaper rack. Her stomach clenched. Despite her anger toward him, Lily felt an unexpected pang of concern. Martin was still her father. She had only just met the man, truly met him, and now he might be facing serious legal consequences. It was all happening so fast. One afternoon, Martin called Lily while she was on break. His voice shook. "They've frozen several of my accounts. I can't access most of my funds. My business partners are jumping ship, Lily. I'm losing everything I have to leave Chicago for a while." A strange numbness washed over her. "Where will you go?" she asked. "I'm not sure," Martin replied. "I might have to stay with an old friend in Colorado until this blows over." "But Lily, please don't shut me out. I've just found you again." She closed her eyes, torn. "Actions have consequences," she said simply. "You taught me that by leaving. Now karma is catching up with you. I don't know what you want from me." "I just want you to know I still love you," he whispered. "You and your mother. More than anything." Lily hung up, tears gathering. Anger flared in her chest, but also sorrow for the father she never had. She couldn't fix his mistakes or erase her own heartbreak. All she could do was face the storm that had arrived. Martin's downfall was swift. His assets were seized, and as Lily read more articles, she learned about his potential indictment on charges similar to those rumored 2 decades before when he first ran away. It seemed Martin never truly left that shady world behind. He had only grown more entangled in it. He called Lily from a disposable cell phone, breath coming in ragged gasps. "They're going to arrest me." "Lily, I'm heading to Colorado tonight." She could hear the raw terror in his voice. She recalled the memory of him in the diner face, Haggard acknowledging her for the first time. "Don't run," she advised, surprising herself with the gentle tone. "Face what you've done. Hiding won't solve anything." "Easier said than done," he replied, voice cracking. "I'm so sorry for everything." Lily closed her eyes, pressing a hand to her temple. "If you come back, if you turn yourself in, maybe the courts will be lenient. Maybe we can talk again." "Silence, I can't," he finally said. "I'm not strong enough." The line went dead. Later that night, Lily stared at her phone, a hollowness in her chest. She felt like that abandoned child all over again. Days turned into weeks. Lily's mother regained enough strength to return home. Though she still needed regular checkups, Lily's life resumed the same draining routine. She tried to bury her pain in the tasks at the diner, flipping silverware, and greeting customers with forced cheer. Then came October 3rd once more, her 22nd birthday. Lily tried to ignore it, focusing instead on the short break between breakfast and lunch rush. But at exactly 11:00 a.m., a courier marched in holding a small package. Lily felt a cold weight in her stomach. The moment she saw it, she knew. She retreated to the back room, where she carefully unwrapped the box. Inside was a simple chain bracelet with a small engraved plate that read, "No matter where I go, my heart is with you. Dad." Lily's eyes burned with tears she had tried so hard to keep at bay. A note accompanied the bracelet. "For the one who deserves the world and the truth, I promise you'll have it." She sank onto a wooden crate, reading the note again and again. She had expected no gift this year. Certain Martin was either hiding or imprisoned. Yet here it was, a final echo of the father she had met too late. While Lily grappled with her tumult of emotions, life threw another curve-ball. One morning, a woman in a tailored suit walked into the diner, Harriet Brooks, an attorney. She introduced herself quietly and asked to speak privately to Lily Nervous. Lily led her to an empty corner booth. "My name is Harriet Brooks, and I represented Martin Rutherford in several real estate deals." Harriet began. "He recently reached out to me." Lily tensed. "Is he dead?" "They arrest him." Harriet shook her head. "Not yet, but he's under intense investigation. He asked me to deliver this." The lawyer slid an envelope across the table. "It's a legal document, transferring partial ownership of a small property he purchased anonymously in Lakewood, apparently some farmland near the outskirts of the city, into your name." Lily stared at Harriet in disbelief. "Why would he do that? According to Martin, it's an attempt to secure your future. He wants to give you something stable in case everything else falls apart for him." Tears pricked Lily's eyes. The old anger resurged, but it clashed with a pang of sympathy. "He can't just buy me off," she muttered. Harriet nodded understandingly. "He's not well. He's desperate." "But Lily, I have to advise you. Accepting this property also ties you to the investigations. Be cautious. Martin's finances are under scrutiny. If that land was bought with laundered money, it could cause you legal headaches. I recommend you get separate counsel." Her head spun. I can't afford a lawyer." Harriet placed a business card on the table. "There's a pro bono firm that can help. Just be careful. Martin might have good intentions now, but the consequences of his actions can still hurt you." That evening, Lily told her mother about Harriet Brooks's visit. Grace paled, her eyes darkening with dread. "Lily, do not accept anything from him. That man has always left destruction in his wake." Lily sat down next to Grace on their old lumpy couch. "But maybe he's trying to fix what he did. Maybe he wants to make amends." Grace let out a hollow laugh. "You think a property deed wipes away 20 years of abandonment? He gave me the same sweet promises." Once then walked out without a backward glance. A hush followed. Lily squeezed her mother's hand. "Mum, you spent your whole life hating him. Don't you want closure?" "The chance to confront him." "I do," Grace admitted softly. "But I'm terrified. My heart can't handle it. So I won't stand in your way. Lily, if you want to see him, if you want to accept his gifts, that's your choice. Just don't let him break you like he broke me." Lily sat there, tears sliding down her cheeks, torn between wanting to protect her mother and craving answers only Martin could give. Would she ever find a resolution to this tangled family saga? Or were they doomed to chase illusions of reconciliation, battered by wave after wave of betrayal? The next blow came a week later. Lily was closing the diner when she received a call from an unknown number. A gravelly voice introduced itself as Detective Ian Caldwell from the Chicago Police Department. He informed Lily that Martin Rutherford had been arrested at a remote cabin in Colorado on charges of money laundering, conspiracy to commit fraud, and obstruction of justice. The trial date was set for the following month, and Lily might be subpoenaed given that her name was on the farmland deed. The phone nearly slipped from her fingers. She could barely process the words. Martin was behind bars. A father she had only briefly come to know. After Lily hung up, she wandered numbly through the empty diner, switching off lights. When Janice called to her from the back, Lily couldn't even muster a response. She felt trapped in a nightmare. Later, Lily tossed restlessly in bed, replaying every conversation she'd had with Martin. Was he sincere, or was it all a ploy to gain her sympathy, to distract from his crimes? The swirling questions offered no mercy. Even at her lowest, Lily found the notion that Martin reached out again, knowing full well he might be arrested. Oddly comforting. Perhaps he truly did love her in his own flawed way, but love without accountability only deepened her wounds. In the days that followed, Lily contacted the pro bono firm Harriet Brooks recommended. A young lawyer named James Caldwell, coincidentally the nephew of Detective Ian Caldwell, took on Lily's case. They met in a dusty conference room with flickering fluorescent lights. James explained the legal ramifications of being deeded the farmland. In the best case, he said the property was purchased legitimately. In the worst case, Martin used laundered money and the government can seize it. You might be forced to testify about when you received it and the nature of your relationship with your father. Lily hugged her arms. I don't know anything about his business deals. I was just a child when he left, James. Nodded sympathetically. The prosecution knows that. But they'll still ask if you had any knowledge of his misconduct. Given the gifts the property transfer, they might fish for evidence that he was hiding assets through you. We'll just tell the truth. The truth, Lily thought, it was all she had left. The day of the trial arrived in a flurry of nerves. Lily traveled to Chicago, clad in a borrowed blouse and skirt. She kept her head low as she walked past a throng of cameras outside the courthouse. In the courtroom, she glimpsed Martin in an orange jumpsuit, looking gaunt and frightened. His eyes found hers, and for a fleeting moment, Lily's heart clenched with pity. This wasn't the glamorous millionaire father who sent opulent gifts. This was a broken man facing the consequences of a lifetime of bad decisions. Testifying, Lily spoke softly about her childhood, how Martin disappeared when she was young, how she hadn't seen or heard from him until recently, how the anonymous gifts started arriving on her 12th birthday. Her voice quivered when she admitted she suspected it was her father, but never had proof until he showed up at the diner. She described the farmland deed, explaining she never asked for it, and that Harriet Brooks had cautioned her to avoid entanglement. The prosecution was relentless, but Lily answered truthfully. She had no knowledge of Martin's finances or involvement in fraudulent activities. Her role was that of a bystander, a child caught in the crossfire of adult deception. In the gallery, Grace sat stone-faced occasionally, wiping tears with a handkerchief. Martin never looked away from Lily as she spoke. The regret in his eyes was palpable. Eventually the court recessed. Lily hurried out, flanked by James Caldwell, who assured her she'd done fine. While Lily waited in the corridor, a bailiff approached her. "Martin Rutherford wants to speak with you briefly," he said. Unsure. Lily glanced at James. He nodded, and she followed the bailiff to a small side room where Martin waited, handcuffed 2 guards flanking the door. Lily, Martin croaked, tears glistening. "Thank you for telling them the truth." She swallowed, unable to meet his gaze for a moment. "I don't want you to go to prison for the rest of your life, but I can't protect you from what you did. I know I'm not asking you to. I just need you to hear something." He paused, voice trembling. "I love you. And I'm so proud of you. You're strong, compassionate, and everything I never managed to be. I wish I'd been there for you. I wish I'd seen you grow up, taught you to ride a bike, introduced you to Stop Lily," said her throat, closing. "We can't rewrite the past." He nodded, defeated. "But maybe after all this is over, if I ever get out, maybe I can try to be a part of your life." For a moment, Lily faltered. The father she had dreamed of was reduced to a desperate plea in a courthouse side room, yet she couldn't ignore the agony in his voice. She thought of all the birthdays, overshadowed by puzzling gifts, all the tears Grace had shed late at night, and she thought of the future, her own future, and whether carrying bitterness would only poison her further. Maybe she whispered, "I can't promise anything," but maybe the trial lasted for several weeks. Martin's involvement in real estate fraud was undeniable. In the end, the jury found him guilty on multiple counts, and the judge sentenced him to 10 years in federal prison. Lily read about the sentencing in the newspaper, her heart twisting with conflicting emotions. Martin's fall from grace was now complete. The once celebrated millionaire was reduced to an inmate, stripped of wealth, influence, and freedom. Lily visited him once in prison, accompanied by James Caldwell. Martin looked thinner, older. He clutched Lily's hands through the visiting room's metal table. "I'm sorry," he kept repeating, voice hitching. "I'm so sorry," she cried softly, not entirely sure if she was crying for him for herself or for a life that never happened. The father-daughter bond they might have shared was overshadowed by bars and bulletproof glass, yet a small sense of resolution settled in her heart. At least the mystery was uncovered. The shadowy gifts had a name and a face. For Lily, the illusions were gone. In their place was a fragile thread of a relationship, battered but real. Surprisingly, it was Grace who next expressed a desire to visit Martin in prison. Initially, Lily was shocked, but Grace explained, "I need to look him in the eye, see what he's become, and say my piece. Otherwise, I'll never heal." Lily arranged a visit, though her mother's health was delicate. Grace walked gingerly into the visiting room, leaning on Lily's arm for support. Martin was escorted in chains, rattling. His eyes flicked over Grace, and for a second, Lily thought he might burst into tears right then. Grace spoke quietly, each word carrying the weight of 20 years. She told Martin how devastated she had been by his abandonment, how Lily had grown up without a father figure, how she had scrimped and saved while he'd accumulated wealth. At times her voice shook with fury, at others with sorrow. Martin could do nothing but bow his head, tears dripping onto the table. In the end, Grace stood. "I won't say I forgive you," she breathed, "but I won't waste any more of my life hating you either. That's for me, not for you." Then she left. Lily followed, glancing back to see Martin collapsed over the table, handcuffs resting on cold steel. Time passed, and Lily found herself the involuntary owner of that farmland Martin had deeded to her. After thorough checks, James Caldwell confirmed the land had been purchased legally, one of Martin's few clean investments. Instead of selling it, Lily decided to visit the property out of curiosity. The farmland lay at the outskirts of Lakewood, rolling fields dotted with wildflowers and a partially renovated barn. Standing there, Lily felt an unexpected sense of peace. This place was more than an asset. It was potential, a chance to build something from the wreckage of her family's story. She imagined a small cafe, or maybe a produce farm that supplied the local diners. Dreams felt tangible here, unencumbered by the past. She decided she'd hold on to it for now, working to earn enough money to one day develop it into a place of renewal. The next months were a whirlwind of changes. Lily cut back her hours at the Sunrise Diner, to enroll in evening classes at the local community college, using what remained of Martin's money to pay tuition. She realized she could break free from the rut that defined her life. If there was one silver lining to Martin's misguided generosity, it was that Lily had a chance to pursue the education she'd always dreamed about. Grace's health improved marginally, boosted by Lily's renewed optimism. Sometimes, they bickered, old wounds don't vanish overnight. But a sense of shared relief drifted between them. They had faced the father's return together and survived. That united front gave them strength. Lily visited Martin in prison a second time alone. She told him about her classes and how she was planning to start a small business on the farmland. He listened intently, eyes brimming with gratitude. "You deserve every happiness, Lily," he said. "I'm proud of you." The words no longer felt empty or manipulative. They felt like a father's honest sincerity, albeit one who was paying the price for his sins. Despite steps toward healing, Lily found herself wrestling with internal conflicts. Forgiveness wasn't a single event. It was a process. Some days she resented Martin for the pain he caused her and Grace. Other days she empathized with his desperation and fear. She recognized that life was rarely black and white. It was a tapestry of flawed people trying their best and sometimes failing in spectacular ways. She also struggled with the sudden media attention. Local news outlets picked up her story. Waitress inherits farmland from shamed millionaire, father, and reporters occasionally ambushed her outside the diner, asking for quotes. Lily learned to keep her head down, to say no comment, focusing instead on her personal goals. The farmland became her solace, a dream she could shape with her own two hands. Over time, Lily and Martin's relationship transitioned into monthly letters. The prison had strict visitation policies, and Lily couldn't afford to travel often. So they wrote. Martin's handwriting was still the elegant script Lily recognized from the anonymous birthday notes. He spoke of guilt, regret, but also of hopes for Lily's future. He asked about Grace's health, offering to pay for anything she needed, though Lily's pride often resisted. Occasionally, Lily sent him pictures of the farmland of her new life. She never admitted it to anyone, but she found a certain comfort in confiding her struggles to the father she had once believed was lost forever. Some letters made her cry, confronting the reality of how different her childhood might have been if Martin had stayed. Still, at least now they could connect imperfectly from behind bars and share a bond that had once been severed. If that wasn't a perfect closure, it was at least a step toward building something new. Just when Lily's life began stabilizing, tragedy struck again. Grace collapsed at home with severe abdominal pains, rushed by ambulance to the hospital. The doctors discovered a complication from her earlier surgery, a blocked duct causing a dangerous infection. Lily feared the worst. She camped in the hospital, corridors, dozing in plastic chairs, refusing to leave her mother's side. In a moment of clarity, Grace reached out to Lily, voice trembling. "If something happens to me, promise you won't carry bitterness with your father or anyone else. Live your life freely." Lily, tears blurred Lily's vision. "Don't talk like that, Mum. You're going to be okay." But the infection spread faster than the doctors could contain. On a stormy night, Grace Anderson passed away, her hand in Lily's, leaving her daughter with a final gentle smile. A nurse whispered condolences, switching off the heart monitor, as Lily stared at her mother's still face, feeling her own world tilt into chaos. Lily drifted through the days, following Grace's death in a fog. She handled the funeral arrangements mechanically, picking out a modest wooden casket and a simple burial plot. The diner staff, old regulars, and a handful of neighbors attended the small service. They each offered quiet support, hugging Lily, telling her Grace was proud of her. Yet Lily's grief was a tidal wave that no amount of condolences could quell. When Lily wrote to Martin with the news, she dreaded his reaction. The next letter arrived 2 weeks later, riddled with tear stains, incoherent apologies, pleas for forgiveness for all the years he failed to be by Grace's side. He wrote that he wanted to attend the funeral, but was obviously confined, that he prayed every night for them both. Lily cried upon reading it, haunted by how much heartbreak lingered between them. Nevertheless, Lily found a fragile strength stirring inside her. She had survived so many storms, her father's abandonment, the revelations of corruption, and now her mother's death. Though battered, she was still standing. She decided to push forward with her farmland, dream naming it Grace's Bloom in memory of her mother. Months of hard work followed. Lily sought guidance from local farmers, scoured second-hand stores for equipment, and spent whatever free time she had cleaning up the barn. She grew small crops to sell at local markets. She saved money to gradually transform part of the barn into a cafe and gathering space. The nights were long and exhausting, but the vision of a vibrant community spot in her mother's name fueled her resilience. Community members began to rally around Lily's project. Touched by her story, regulars from the diner pitched in. Pauline, who now had a toddler, helped Lily with marketing ideas. Even Harriet Brooks stopped by with legal advice, free of charge. Day by day, Grace's Bloom inched closer to reality, a testament to Lily's determination and a tribute to the mother who raised her against all odds. Meanwhile, Lily continued her college courses, albeit part-time, juggling work studies and farmland responsibilities. Sometimes she barely slept, but each dawn was a fresh promise that she could shape her destiny no longer, a victim of her father's betrayal. 2 years into Martin's sentence, Lily received an official letter stating that a portion of his remaining assets after court settlements and restitution was being directed to her for educational expenses. He had filed a motion requesting that any permissible funds be allocated to Lily's schooling. It wasn't much, but it covered the remainder of her tuition. Lily hesitated. Part of her still hated relying on Martin's money. But another part remembered Grace's final advice. Don't carry bitterness. Live freely. She accepted the funds, finishing her associate's degree, and then transferring to a local university to study business management. Each milestone was bittersweet, shadowed by the sense that Grace should have been there to cheer her on, or that Martin should have guided her in a normal, fatherly role. But life was what it was. On the day Lily walked across the stage to receive her diploma, she imagined her mother's gentle smile and her father's proud gaze. She wore the gold locket around her neck, her first anonymous birthday gift, and the bracelet from her 22nd birthday. Perhaps it was symbolic of her ability to weave together the broken pieces of her family's story into a tapestry that looked toward a brighter future. Years later, Lily Anderson stands at the entrance of Grace's Bloom, greeting a small crowd of visitors who've come for a summer festival. The farmland has blossomed into a thriving organic farm and cozy cafe. Sunflowers sway in the warm breeze, and wooden picnic tables invite guests to relax with freshly baked pastries and cups of herbal tea. The barn has been renovated into a community hall, hosting everything from wedding receptions to local charity events. Lily's heart lifts as she notices a new sign she installed at the entrance, in memory of Grace Anderson, a place for new beginnings. She touches the gold locket around her neck, remembering all the birthdays spent, wondering who cared enough to send those secret gifts. In the end, the answers were far more complicated and tragic than she ever imagined. Yet life has moved forward, shaped by love, pain, resilience, and yes, even a measure of forgiveness. Martin Rutherford will eventually be released on parole, and Lily isn't sure how they'll navigate their relationship. But she's found peace in knowing she can face whatever lies ahead. She discovered that healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about forging a path through the wreckage, emerging stronger and more compassionate on the other side. Thank you for joining me on this emotional roller coaster of family secrets, heartfelt revelations, and the unyielding power of forgiveness. Lily's journey reminds us that life's most gripping dramas aren't confined to fiction. They unfold in quiet corners of our daily lives, filled with unexpected gifts, harrowing betrayals, and poignant moments of redemption, from the confines of a small-town diner to the grand upheavals of a millionaire's downfall. Lily's courage and resilience light the way for anyone wrestling with broken ties or unresolved regrets. If you felt the weight of her pain, the thrill of her triumph, or the raw ache of lost time, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support enables more inspiring stories that echo the complexities of real life. Let's continue exploring tales of hope, perseverance, and the human spirit together.